Hey there, Foppers, and welcome back to our quest to finish every single video game. That's right, absolutely all of them. Today we're back with more Lobotomy Corporation, and I literally just got a message that I got my new microphone stand. I just need to go pick it up. I haven't had time to do that yet. I'm gonna do that after this episode. This will be the final video I record without it, so hopefully it helps. I do not know. It might not. It very well might not. You know, I've literally just had like a handful of chips for dinner now. I'm starving. I just came home from work. And after recording this, I'm gonna go for a little bit of coffee. And because I'm sleepy. I've been so sleepy lately. Okay? I've literally been going to bed at 8 in the evening, just chilling for like a little while, you know, not more than an hour though before like actually going to sleep. I've been falling asleep at like 9 in the evening. I've been so incredibly tired lately. I don't know why. I mean, I do get to work quite early, so that's probably the reason. I usually wake up at like 6 or 7, so sleeping like 9 or 10 hours somewhere, that's more than I'm used to, but certainly not incredibly much. But yeah, it's kinda good. It's very good to like feel awake for work and stuff. Is Snow White gonna breach? That sucks. It's very good to be awake for work and stuff, but then I get home and it doesn't take me too long before I'm just so tired. And that kind of sucks, because well, I want to be awake at home too. But I've just been getting tired so early, and like when I go to bed at 8, I start getting like tired and sleepy at like what, like 6, 7, about there. So yeah, but I mean, if that's what my body is telling me, that is what my body needs. I understand that much. So it's good for me, of course. It's lame. I've actually like gone ahead and asked for a vacation soon. I need that, you know. You end up getting like slightly burned out from work. Need to take a break every now and then. I'm certainly there now. It's been quite a lot. We get red noon, so we don't have to worry too much about the noon ordeal here. We're also done with the day, but I do want to train just a little bit. Okay. And I thought, because, well, I used to invest a lot. Well, I still do, but I used to invest in individual stocks. Now, this might be boring to some of you, because stocks, that's like the stock market. That's not exactly a fascinating topic to most, but I do find it to be interesting myself. I used to invest in individual stocks myself. I don't do that anymore. Now I just do index funds. That's what the vast majority of people should, I think. I used to have more time to like look at it and more interest for it. Oh, harmony of skin, of course. Let's keep some people in their main rooms, but we can really send a lot of people to deal. Zokai has Aleph gear, by the way. Gotten equipped with the mountain, as per their request. I'm gonna make more characters too. I'm just so tired now and so hungry, so I don't feel like it right now. I know, I keep saying I'm gonna make a million characters, don't you worry. I'm gonna do it. It's just, I don't need them right now, so I'm just waiting for the final possible moment before I do so. Yeah, but like, I used to invest a lot in individual stocks, and because that was my interest, I like looked up a few people on like YouTube and other social media platforms. I used to be more active on social media platforms when I was, well, yeah, oh god, it's almost a decade ago. Oh, I just realized how old I am. But yeah, when I was in my late teens, you know, I used to be way more active on social media. I just don't care. Like, most social media to me is just actually awful. I've spoken of this in other videos too. Don't think it's been Lobotomy Corporation though. But yeah, social media sucks. Mostly, most of the time. I stay out of it for the most part. But I used to be more active, so I looked up people on other places too. That's besides the point though. Like, I remember everything I ever saw in that regard. It was just terrible. Like, the popular people, and there's a reason for this, I think. I'm gonna get into that too. But the popular people, the ones with the most followers, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, I'm not gonna say any names either, mostly because I can't remember any names probably. But a lot of people, they just seem like awful people in that world. And I think it's got to do with, like, in order to make it big, you gotta make some wild claims, you know. Say you're, yeah, like, you make some wild claims like, oh, investing in this company will make you rich overnight. And, well, the vast majority of the time, that's just not true, but it's what people want to click, right? So that's what they do. See, do we get any setups? We got a couple. Infirm is level 5 and everything, that's pretty damn good. Okay, great. That's a little bit of progress. Not quite as much as it should be, probably. But yeah, it's some progress. We need Il Pianto della Luna for more gear, I think. We don't need Dimensional Refraction variant, although they are nice. I don't mind having them. I think I want to re-extract. We don't take Happy Teddy Bear. The Firebird is annoying. We take Dream of a Black Swan here. Dream of a Black Swan is absolutely fine, I think. I rarely have any issues with them. I might be totally wrong. Maybe they're actually the worst. But I think they're fine. But yeah, you gotta make some big claims, you know, in order to get views in that sort of category. And so that's like the norm. Being misleading in general in that world is a benefit to a lot of people. Okay, we equip Heathcliff and send him into the fray. Do we need any gear from you, by the way? Yes, we do. That's why we took you. We need your suits. That's not why we took you, but I did have you in mind, actually, because I know we need to work with you. Well, needed your gear anyways. We have that now, so that's perfect. You're also decent to train multiple different stats on, so I don't mind having you. Snow White's apple only has one counter? Oh, I thought Snow White's apple had two. Okay. I don't know where that came from. I mean, so many numbers here. I'm bad at remembering numbers. So that's probably the reason. But yeah, you gotta make some bold claims or be misleading in some way. Or like, if you have money in a company, you know, if you have money in Apple, and then you see a video title like, if you own Apple, sell immediately. And then there's like, the thumbnail is like one of those charts, you know, that just goes straight down and the line is red in one of those charts. You're like, part of you really wants to click that video because, well, you have money in Apple, it's one of the biggest companies in the world, and oh no, my money is at risk. So of course I want to click on that video and see what's wrong with the company, you know? Should I actually sell it? Whatever. That's like the thought process there. So you gotta be like somewhat misleading. Your claims don't have to be right either. Like, sure, it might defeat your credibility a little bit. If you're smart about it, you can delete certain things or edit certain things to seem more correct than you are, especially like on Twitter or whatever. People do that. They like say, tweet out like 10 different companies and like, oh, invest in this now and that's great. and then they will delete the ones that didn't pan out after the end. And then after doing that for a year or two, you have a great track record because you've deleted everything else. And you could also delete the comments and whatever saying that, oh, he actually deletes previous tweets, you know, don't trust this con man. You can delete those too. So you end up benefiting from being misleading over there. I'm not saying everyone's misleading, but that's most of the big people. They are the ones that get the clicks. But that's not to say that everyone's wrong, you know, all the time. There's also the issue with things like that, like how much of your portfolio should you have allocated there, do you think? Like, I've seen people, even more recently too, it's still going around, seen people saying like, oh, well, I told you to invest in this company if you did that, or more so crypto, I guess, cryptocurrency. But yeah, I told you to invest in this crypto, and if you did so 2 weeks ago when I told you, you would have been a millionaire by now. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. How much money are we talking here? Because if I didn't invest a ton of money, then I'm not gonna be a millionaire anyways. You know, if I invest $10 million into an absolutely awful cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency falls 90%, I'm still a millionaire. So that doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, there's a lot of claims like that. And they're not all necessarily misleading either. You could really try your best, and you could have some good things out there. And I believe that if you genuinely think that a company is valued cheaply, you know, if a company should be worth more than it is today, I think it's just beneficial to get it out there. I mean, sure, you're probably just a drop in the ocean because we're talking with the big fish here. They're the ones that really control the stock prices, not your average investor, in a way. But if you believe a stock is valued too low, and I'm guessing you have invested money into that company then you want people to invest into it to bring the price up. More buyers tends to increase the price. I mean, it can be more complicated than that. Like, if people just are willing to sell it for nothing anyways, then the price can fall down even though you get more buyers in. But the gist of it is that the more buyers, the more expensive the company will be, and if you already have money in it, then that's just good. So there is certain incentive to be honest too, you know. But a lot of people are just awful. Also, like, what I really liked watching when I viewed it on YouTube, it was the people who had like showed their portfolio like month by month or week by week or something. And then they like show the changes they made and the companies they had and stuff. And to a degree that does add more credibility, you know, when you show everything you have regularly with regular intervals. That's something you can like follow up on and you can verify more easily that they actually were honest. But the thing is, those are quite easy to fake. You could fake the numbers. You could have a fake portfolio, you know, in some way. You could go and inspect the page, change the numbers, or have like a practice portfolio or whatever. You can. It can be identifiable. It may not be. It depends, especially on how well known you are with that broker they're using. But a lot of people seem to just have insane amounts of money, and to me, that's a sign that there's something misleading going on. Doesn't have to be the case. I remember watching, when I first started, one that was basically in my same position, like money-wise, and also like the same types of companies in their portfolio. And I watched them regularly, and then they just kept... like every single, I think it was weekly, you know, every single week they would invest like $1,000, and they were like, oh, I allocated that here and there, and it got to a point where they had like $1 million or something, and they were my age, and I was like, how in the world is this possible? most of your money at this point isn't even through your investments, it's just... I don't know. I don't think it's very realistic to invest like $4,000 for the average person. I mean, it's doable. Oh, Scorched Girl is out. Okay. It's doable if, like, you live at home and you work like a full-time job. That's the only way I can really imagine that being legit. Either that or you just have a crazy well-paying job. Which, yeah, because, like, you gotta spend at the bare minimum like $1,500 a month just to live, I think. It depends where you're from and whatnot. Especially like nation-wide, these numbers may be way off. That's what I'm used to over here where I live, at least. Like, if you do that, that can pay for everything. It's the bare minimum you'll need. You probably need tons more, especially if you want to live somewhat comfortably. But it's doable. It's certainly doable to live off that, and that's what you gotta do when you're like a student, you know. You gotta live rather cheaply. But yeah, I don't know. I think like if we add that in, say this person wasn't living at home. I feel like what I got from the videos was that they weren't living at home. I don't know. Maybe I misremember. I might misremember. Feel like they lived with their girlfriend or something. Might be wrong about that. But like, you gotta be making like $5,000-6,000 a month as like in your late teens. I guess if they have like very rich parents. That seems unreasonable. The YouTube channel wasn't that big either. It was on YouTube. So it's not like they were making bank off of YouTube, you know. Probably a few pennies here and there. They had over 1,000 subscribers at least. But I don't even think it was 10,000 when I started watching him. Because I started like at the start of the journey almost. So yeah, that's awful. And there's a lot of like misleading things and stuff when it comes to... they call themselves Finfluencers, I think. Some of them at least. Like financial influencers. I feel like I've seen that term floating around on like Twitter or something back in the day. A few decent startups. We take those. And we will get a tool now. I wonder what we end up getting. Behavior adjustment, is that good? I think Flesh Idol is decent if I'm forced to, but I want to re-extract here. Backwards Clock is great. We always take Backward Clock. The best thing about it really for me is that against Bean it just doesn't get a meltdown. But I know that it's actually like a good, useful tool to have in your facility. But I'm just taking it just because it cannot get a meltdown, really. That's such a good ability to have access to. Okay, and no more whatever. We have 106 lob. That's great. Oh, that's great. Do we need to move some people around? Bald Man should probably be down here. You can be up here, little Timmy. Hong Lu. We want you over here. Do we have anyone? You're Max Justice. Queen of Hatred, I can go over there. Hong Lu over there. Yeah, that seems good. Jacob can stay, you're just good. Once into, just a great employee. Little Tim is good here. Queen of Hatred fan is good here for now. The cool thing should really be over here. Red doesn't need to be here. We can switch you two around, like so. Ramona, you're decent here. Knight of the Spear fan can probably stay. Actually move you over here. Send Ishmael in there. Knight of the Spear fan. Okay. This is probably good for now. Come on. How bad can it possibly be? Alright. And you know, since I've invested, I have like a lot of thoughts. I remember one thing there was a lot of concern about was, well, at least I saw a lot of concern about it, was that of sin stocks. So it's like companies that deal with morally questionable things. Think like weapons and like cigarettes and stuff, you know, where you could question like, do they do good things for society for profit? The answer is probably no, by the way. If you're investing into the big stock market, into like well-known big corporations, they probably do at least some awful things every now and then for profit. I mean, it sucks to say it, but that's how you get big. That is how you get big. Doesn't have to be, but that's certainly the easiest way. It is to step on some toes and it generally be at least morally questionable. But I'm thinking more like sin stocks, like alcohol and stuff, like it's the big ones. I think I've basically covered them. Like, yeah, you could go and you can say like health insurance and stuff, but that's not generally covered by the sin stocks category as far as I'm aware. Like I had a lot of money invested into manufacture of cigarettes, personally, because, well, I have a lot of I've figured out like how to defend myself, I guess. My thinking was, my first thought was, well, this is morally not bad, at least. And the reason is that it's like fair and totally doable is because, well, unless you're a multi-millionaire and you have all of your money in this company, you essentially have no money in the company anyways. So it's not it's not bad to have money in it because, well, like if you have, even if you have like 100,000 or even $1 million, you have so little of the company. If you think that's where you'll make money, I think that's totally fair. Because there's so little money, you know. The more money you have, the more a sin it is, I guess. So if you're dealing with relatively low amounts in the international scale, it's basically a rounding error off of 0. And I think that's what most people should really consider when dealing with sin stocks. But like, even if we remove that, I think it's actually morally justifiable, and I think it's a good idea for society if you invest in sin stocks, if you're asking these questions. Because think about it. When you invest in a stock, you are buying a part of the company. You're getting a little piece of the profit. That's what most people do. That's how you make money. So as the company makes money, the money will be returned to you, at least some of it. That's why you want to invest in it. If money is not returned to you, then it's probably not a good company to invest in. There are other reasons to invest. That's not all there is, the end all be all. For most people, that's why they do it, especially everyone, I guess. That's why they do it. They do it for the money. But that's not all you get. You also get votes because you own a part of the company. At least most of the time. There are different kinds of stocks, but the vast majority of stocks, you get the right to vote for that company and be a part of the future, shape that. You don't really get anything to say if you're a regular person. You're not investing enough money. I'm sorry to tell you. You still do get votes, depending on your broker. Some brokers may claim that vote for themselves. That will be in their terms of service. But if you get like a notification from your broker or mail or something telling you to like attend a meeting, or that you can attend a meeting, you're gonna get some information about how to vote and whatever, then you have the voting rights. As far as I'm concerned, you always have those if you get a notification for it. And because you have that voting right, like, who should invest into a sin company? If you think a company is doing wrong, like, the operation of the company is not based on the stock price, so having more people doesn't necessarily, more people buying doesn't necessarily improve the company. It might look more attractive, they might be able to get more money from loans and whatnot, can raise more money when issuing new stock. There are ways to make money off of a high share price, but that's not really a part of the regular everyday business for a company. It's not their share price. That actually doesn't influence their company very much at all. Maybe the CEO has something to say about that. Their job is on the line if the money goes way down. People don't like that, so they may end up being voted out because of the votes, you know, or whatever. So it can matter to some people, but generally it doesn't really influence the daily running of the company. Now, what does matter is that you get votes, you know. Now, if you don't use it, that's kind of fair. Most people don't really have anything to say. I've never voted for one of my companies just because, well, I don't have enough votes to really do anything meaningful anyway, so I don't bother. It's just too much work and too boring. I would, if I had more money invested and actually felt like I had something to say, I would vote for sure. You vote on like individual cases and stuff most of the time, so that's really what I think people should be voting for. Aligns with my philosophy quite well. But if you think a company is doing bad, is it not more morally correct to invest in that company and get rights to vote yourself? So that you can have a say in something and you can try to steer the company in a better direction? Like, in the case of cigarettes, for example, you could have voting rights and you could push for products that are not as bad for your health. Maybe products without dangerous chemicals, alternatives, or like education, fair research. That's been a problem in the cigarette industry in the past, you know, like the research and the surveys and stuff into the health dangers. They have been misleading and not been fairly conducted by scientists. They have been paid for by big tobacco in the past. That's part of the reason why big tobacco used to be so big, you know, and still is relatively big considering the health detriment. But you could like steer that in the right direction. You could have something to say, in theory, especially if you have a lot of money. If you own 51% of the company, you get, well, not everything. Certain things need more than 50% to go through as well, as far as I know. But you essentially own the entire company and you can steer it in the direction you want, to a large degree. So if you don't think something is fair or beneficial to society, you can say no. And that's already a majority vote no, so it probably won't go through. So to me it's more morally correct to invest in those sin stocks, personally. It's negligible if you're a regular person, because you don't have enough money to really matter to the company in the big stock market. But if you are someone who has a lot of money, if you are a multi-billionaire and you purchase the entire damn company, then you can really decide whatever you want. You can steer the company in a better direction. Is that not more morally correct? I guess there's the thing with like money corrupts and whatnot, so if you were a multi-billionaire you probably wouldn't be a very good person either. Again, it's very difficult to get a lot of money without being a bad person. It's a sad reality. To get that sort of money, you probably have done some bad things. at least on morally questionable things. Doesn't have to always be the case, but it probably is the case most of the time. So yeah, I think you shouldn't really worry too much about what the company you invest in does in that way. And if you are worried about that, you should totally use your right to vote. If your broker does not give you the right to vote, you should consider switching if that's something you're really passionate about. That's something that would matter to a lot of people, I think. I don't know if people even realize all the time. So like, the broker I invest through these days, they get voting rights on the companies I own. They are slightly cheaper and have a few benefits for that. The reason they get the voting rights is because I am not actually listed as the owner, so I put money into... it's like an insurance company, basically. I put money inside of an insurance, to an insurer. And they follow a stock price for me, and they're willing to give me my money back for the stock price. And they don't even really need to own the company. They don't, as far as I don't know their terms of service inside out. Maybe they do in terms of those, but they promise to give me back the money that my stock is worth. So like, I watch it like a regular broker, and I get my money back if I need to. There could be issues in theory, like, remember Robinhood during GameStop? That was quite big. Most people might have heard about it. I don't know if it was even just Robinhood, but basically, GameStop during like the pandemic, they were gonna go bankrupt and the stock price went down. A lot of big people had big money inside of it, betting on them falling to zero, or at least falling very low. But like, people were just at home having fun, you know. People were really into stocks at that time. So a lot of retail investors, as they're called, the small fish, actually teamed together and they got the stock price up. And then the people, it's called a short position. It's when you bet on a stock going down in price rather than up. They started like cracking because the money went too high, so automatically they were sold again. And that increased the prices because, yeah, fewer people were betting on the company going down because they were, oh, someone is level 5 now, great. Yeah, I don't know the details of it. It kind of eludes me right now because it's so long since I worked with it. Red leveled up quite a lot too, pretty good. But yeah, anyways, a lot of things were happening very rapidly. So trading just stopped. Robinhood said, no, you're not allowed to sell that and take your money. Take your money back. So yeah, it didn't go the way of the retail investor. Unfortunately, it never does. It's a losing game, really. It is rigged. Even if people don't want to admit it, it is rigged. So I remember that, and yeah, it's something that could happen, especially with big movements. Your money, it's like insured and stuff, as far as I know. A lot of insurance going into it to make sure that you end up getting your money based on the company's worth. But if there are big movements, stuff could happen, or just like shortages or something. You know, like electrical shortage at the company. It could happen. You know, so there are periods where maybe you don't have access to it temporarily, and the price can move in the meantime, so you might not get the money you think you should get back, and there might be cases there, and that's a big shame, and I hope we don't see any major things like that in the future, although I'm sure we will, because I sincerely believe that it's not a fair game, unfortunately. I think there is some sort of economic divide between people who are very well off and the average person. So yeah. But that is all the time I have for this episode today, folks. I'm so sorry for just rambling. It's just something I I'm into, you know, finances. I do still do a lot of investing, although it's just into index funds. It's not as exciting. I just don't have the time to look at individual stocks in that way anymore. I don't really have the interest anymore either. It was mostly a thing like, well, I didn't pay attention in school when I first started investing. It was like COVID times when I started, and I was a lot at home, and we weren't allowed to come into school at that time. And I actually, like, because it was at home, we got a lot more home assignments and whatnot. And I'm very good with like remembering stuff from books and stuff. And also I had so much break time while at school. So I ended up finishing like most of the day within the first 2 hours, and then I just had the rest of the day off basically. So I was a lot of at home there, and then after school I went for a period without being employed. So I just went around at home, you know. And I really had an interest in it back then, and the time to look into it. So I got started with individual stocks. But then at some point I got employed again, and I just didn't really have the time, didn't really have interest enough to take the time for it, is the thing, I guess. It's priorities, you know. So I stopped, and now it's just exclusively index funds, but I still do invest in that. But I'm not here to give you any individual stock tips, that's for damn sure, because I really couldn't tell you anymore. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see the next one. And remember, if you want to become a farmer just like us, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. It's free and really helps you out. Me out, actually. I'm just thinking about food right now. Anyways, have a nice day and goodbye.